Hey all, back again for another Xenophobe update. This one hopefully will be one of the last regarding the control panel, as we're making a little bit of progress. It's been a while, the weather changed and things have been nice, so project kind of sat for a couple weeks, but slowly working towards getting this thing all hooked up and ready to go. And if you remember last time, I needed some bolts to hold these things in, the flight sticks, whatever you want to call them, like joysticks. These here are 1032s. Everything else on the contraption's an 832, and that's frustrating. Like, these are 832s. These are 10s for some reason. So I had to go out and get those. I managed to figure out the ones I wanted. How many I bought? I bought an extra. I bought a whole box of 100 because I'm figuring I'm going to use them elsewhere throughout the years, and I should stock up on these things if I'm going to be doing this. So I got those 3 to put in, and that involves taking apart the contraption to get it through, which is a little annoying. It's not terrible. Security screws hold in the plastic part where your hand grabs the casing, I guess, and then the shaft just falls through the control panel. It's pretty straightforward. It's just annoying. And there's not much rust on these, which is nice. Unlike the tapper control panel, which I have to get really cleaned up. This one's pretty good. All the wiring's intact as well, which is awesome. The other half of the contraption are these switch mechanisms that go beneath the ball there under the joystick, and they latch on with similar. Like these holes, you can see these holes will match up here, and these will actually go over the top so that the ball will slide through. I have to take the ball off with an E-clip. But those holes are marked in the manual as 1032, and they're not. They're absolutely not. A 10 can fit through this side, but a 10 is not going to fit on that side. They're 8s, so I bought a bunch of 8s as well. And that's all that should be needed to push this on, secure it in place after it's on the control panel. And from there, it's all wiring. And in there is most of a harness, so I guess the only way to figure out where I stand with that is to try and put it in. Because as I said last time, it's not identical to the Rampage, so there's a little bit of annoyance getting the controls to work properly. So once I get these hooked up on the actual control panel and the harness in place, we'll see where we stand, whether or not I have them in the right place on the control panel. Because there's 3 of them here, I have no idea which one is going to translate at the end of the harness to, player blue or player red. I can look all that up. There's a lot of wires here. Shouldn't be too difficult. So I'm going to get working on this, and I will be back with an update. Okay, all 3 joysticks are in place. Not a terrible job to do. The worst part is the E-clips on the little ball there in the middle. Pain in the butt because there's like no slack at all. They're perfectly manufactured. The other one is to get the heads back together here. The hands, these. Do I have a light? I don't have a light. The way the mechanism works, in order to get the shaft through, you have to take apart the switch mechanism inside, and I'll put a picture up of what it entails. It's annoying. It's not hard. It's just I'm afraid you kind of push it through and you're afraid to bend it or break it, and then you get it back together and it doesn't go back cleanly. And these special are on this side. The lock nuts. What are they called? The special security screws don't match up when you're done, and it's a pain in the butt. And it's clean though. The entire harness looks to be here, which is pretty sweet. The only thing I have hesitation about is whether or not I have them in correctly. Because if you kind of look around, there's nothing telling me whether or not the switch mechanism should be this way or turned 180 degrees. Other than the fact that maybe the wires are crisscrossed. So this one, I figured the harness should be on the left, since on the inside of the cabinet, there's the harness trail there, and everything seems to come off to that left side. So I started there, moved up here, and I figured that there wouldn't be any crisscrossing wires here, probably. and everything seems to fit. You know, there's not a lot of slack, so I'm thinking that one's good. This one's got the twist in it, so I'm not quite sure if it's going to work or not. We'll have to wait till we turn it on. And then this one again, no crisscrossing. And everything's got a, you know, a nice little holder, and it's all pretty much, you know, the right length. So I'm thinking that the only one maybe I have issue with is the one in the middle, but I can't tell until I turn it on and get all the wiring correct. So I got to replace the harness because the last video I think we messed with the left, right, up, and down on the Rampage harness. And that can probably come back to bite me at this point if I use that harness. So I am going to swap it out if possible. I'll see what I have. I know there's some of it's been cut, like the sound channels and stuff are all cut. So I'm gonna probably have to splice it or untie it, zip tie parts of it, and then re-put it back together after that. But I think we're in good shape. Give this a close as best as I can. Get the wires out of the way here. Hopefully, I'm not going to crush anything. And you can see it's actually now pretty good. It's looking much better. I tried to clean these little you know, plastic covers as best as I could, but there's 20 years of grime. The yellow one's not going to come clean. It's, you know, it's just not. It's filthy. The blue one too. I mean, it's not exactly dust. It's kind of ground into the plastic since the plastic isn't smooth. So I don't think they're going to come clean. The control panel is not bad. It's pretty clean to begin with. I might give it another once over, but eventually I'll get all the black. I need these rings too. I need these rings here missing. And this one doesn't have a sleeve on it. So there's some missing parts I'll get. I'll get all the black pieces, you know, nice and black. You know, they scrape off with Goo Gone and stuff, the stickers or whatever they are, and the duct tape residue, and make sure the coin mechs work. You know, maybe it's a little touch-up paint, but otherwise, we're almost there. I will keep working, and I'll be back with, hopefully, a working control panel. Okie dokie, it is the next day, about 8 hours later, maybe. Last night, this morning, this afternoon, I've been working on getting this thing, the wiring harness hooked up correctly. And I realized halfway through it that I did it backwards. Not that I did it wrong, I just chose the wrong path forward on this project. So what we had in the machine was a mess, Rampage. And it had a Rampage control panel, which is in pieces, and a Rampage, you know, coin door, control panel, everything. And I was surprised, but the previous owner actually had a Rampage wiring harness as well. And so they swapped out the Xenophobe wiring harness with the Rampage to get it to work with the, you know, the slight differences that Rampage and Xenophobe have. And I didn't really think about it until I got halfway through this project that Rampage only has two coin slots, I think. Mine did. It had the connections for 2 coin slots. It also didn't have as many buttons, so it had completely different harness Molex connectors. See if I can get a light. Can I get a light? No light. Anyway, these connectors were completely different. The ones I cut off were 12. They had 12 connectors on them, and the other one had 9. But in essence, what's needed on a Xenophobe is a 9 and a 15, because there's a lot more buttons. Luckily, the person I purchased the control panel from also shipped a bunch of extra random wires. And those random wires ended up being 2 harnesses for Xenophobe. The only problem is, it's just, it's a pain in the butt. No matter which way I wanted to go, I would have had to tear apart the harnesses because the harness incorporates pretty much everything. It goes from not only the control panel, but the coin door, down to sound. This is sound here. This is main, that's P2 and 3 for the controls. This is sound as well. This is controls. There's a cutoff section here somewhere, right here, which is, for something else. So both of the harnesses had pieces cut off, and the coin door was cut off, and some of the sound settings, some of the sound wires were cut off as well. So I would have had to splice no matter what. The only thing is, if I had started with Xenophobe, I would have only had to move about 8 or 9 wires. What I had to do here, you're not going to be able to see it very well, is about 15 plus the 9, so 23 wires. And right now everything is just electrical tape together to see if I can get anything working. And everything was hooked up correctly, and it all worked before before I made it permanent with the wire heat shrink and all that stuff. So after many hours making a mess, I had a mess everywhere. This is where we stand. I turned it on and it worked. I mean, the game booted. And I did hook everything up correctly. I had thought maybe things were backwards underneath the panel with the switches, but they're not. I guessed right. Up, down, left, right, button. This trigger sticks. I gotta reopen it. Coin and tilt both work. Up, down, left, right. The angle on the on the joystick is weird, so right is really right, upper right when you're standing playing on it. Button. This trigger doesn't work all the time either, so I gotta look at that. Coins work, tilts work, power to the coin door works. If we get out of service mode here, game boots into track mode. We'll give it a coin. I have no sound. Why don't I have sound? Did I screw up the volume pot? Sound worked yesterday. Poop. I can walk to the left, I walk to the right, shoot up, shoot down, throw critter, right button, grab that, throw critter, shoot down, throw. Game is playable, although no sound. So let me look at that and I'll be right back. Okay, I think I got it. Let me check. Sounds better. Clean it up. That's loud. Works. Focus camera. Sounds good. Let my guy die. Oh my God. This is crazy. could see why this is a quarter muncher. That's crazy. I think I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. It works. I still gotta get into the monitor somehow and scale this thing up because it's a little collapsed. I still haven't broken into the key in the back though. Woohoo, there we go. Almost done with this one. Again, most of it is aesthetics that's left in tidying up the control harness and doing it properly. Getting everything screwed back in because it's not. Finding these little things. I need a marquee. There's a few on eBay, but they're way too expensive for their condition. I'm not paying that much. Sides aren't too bad. This one has a back door, so that's good. Stickers. Other than that, just about done. So hopefully one more video with this down in the arcade and all tidied up. But until then, I will see you next time. If you like this video and you want to see more, hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. I have other arcade and pinball videos on the channel you might be interested in, like this one, and this one, even this one. Thanks for watching.